What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Almost Functional. Back tonight with another Grey Knight video. Here with Dave the Mountain Ozawa. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hi, Matt.
Hey. All right, so you and I went to the Grand Onslaught 9 this weekend. GT out in Hudson, Florida, that had, I believe, 69, 70 players.
Yeah. Yes, it was a good time. Great event. Shout out to Lewis. He runs a great event.
Yeah, Louis Betancourt from Onslaught Gaming. They also have a YouTube channel. He's the one who ran the event. You see, we have his YouTube channel scrolling down at the bottom there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pull up Dave's list, and he can tell us about it. I believe it's fairly similar to the list we talked about in your last video.
Yep. I just wanted to be first and foremost say, if you like our content, please like and follow. Smash that like button. It really helps us out. And if you subscribe, it really helps us out. And we thank you very much if you did that. Another thing is, I know Matt probably said it in his synopsis video, but they were running the new rules, so this is all updated. I know a lot of tournaments did not run the new rules, but we were running the rules update at this event. So it was a lot of different armies I haven't seen before, and I didn't get to practice against because there was a lot of Shadow Legion, for example, and even there's a couple of people with the new Orc detachment, the Daka or the Mordaka, I think it's called. So there was some interesting stuff.
Yep. All right. So with that being said, you want to run us through your list real quick for anyone who might not have seen it before?
Yeah. So obviously the rules updated, and we got 5 extra points cheaper on the interceptors. And in my last video, I did, but this is before the patch. I talked about how I didn't run purgation squads, which are the predominant people were running. I ran interceptors, and I thought interceptors were better. And I kind of talked about that. And interceptors took a pretty big nerf now. Purgations took a big nerf. Purgations can't no longer use the reroll hits if the target has to be visible to use the reroll hits. This is my daughter here, Violet. Oh, she's too shy. She ran away. So Purgation Squad's definitely got nuked right there. I don't think you'll be seeing them as much anymore. But, like I said, I always was a fan of the interceptors, and they got even cheaper. Now, there was a hidden nerf in our army that you do need to be aware of if you're going to play Workbane. And that is, while it kind of was geared toward purgation squads, if you don't have line of sight, you can't, models that don't have line of sight can't use the rerolls. If you're fighting in close combat, you need to be careful, because if you're up against the wall and you can't see the enemy units, if the model can't see an enemy unit because you're fighting through a wall, you don't get the rerolls as well. So it was kind of a hidden nerf, and it's kind of situational, but you need to be a little careful around walls now, because if you need the rerolls, you're not going to be able to get them if somebody's fighting you through a wall. Does it make sense?
Yeah. And does it say models or units that
it says model?
All right. So you might have some guys that get the reroll and some don't.
Yeah, you'll get some guys that get the reroll possibly if they see it, but some guys, if they're behind that wall and they're fighting, they're not going to be able to get the reroll.
All right, so that's just something to keep in mind and play around.
It's a bit situational, but I'm sure when it happens, it's going to affect close combat.
Yep.
So my list is pretty much the same. All I did was,
well, just in case people didn't see the other video, just run them through the list in general.
Okay, yeah. So I've got 1 Grandmaster Dread Knight, Heavy Incinerator, Sight Cannon with he's a Warlord. I really like that guy. Deep Strikes, usually every game. Strikes 1 Strike Squad for the Scout and the Sticky, mostly the Scout. I really like that squad. Does a nice job with that.
Yeah, because they let their transport scout, right?
They let the transport scout. Yep. As long as you don't add a character to them, you put them in the transport, they'll let the transport scout. So you can get out there and make plays right away, basically. Even with the transport, 12 inches sometimes doesn't get you to the far objective with the 6-inch scout. If you go first, you can get to that far objective, and you can do some actions and stuff on it. This event, I run 4 Razorbacks. I had 10 extra points, so I upgraded one of the rhinos I used to run to Razorback, and I have 1 rhino. So I'm running 5 transports, 5 infantry squads. Every infantry squad runs in a transport to start the game. And then I had 3 nemesis. 2 interceptor squads. I like those for the move, shoot, move, and the close combat, and being able to dive somebody at distance. 3 nemesis Dread Knights. They're great squads. They're just all around good units. And then the two Purifier squads, 1 10-man, 1 5-man. I really like that setup. It gives you a lot of hitting power with the this 10-man gives you a lot of hitting power, and the 5-man gives you a lot of utility with the 6-inch Jeep Strike on the other squads.
All right, cool. Anything else you want to get into on that before we start looking at your matchups?
Not really. I mean, that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much it for that.
All right, so round 1, you played into Aeldari. Devoted of Your Need, that is the Inardi attachment. That is the one that everyone thinks is the best right now.
Yeah.
So we had the Visarch, the Incarn, and Yvraine. So his only characters were the 3 named Ynnari ones. Corsair Void Reavers, Kabalite Warriors, 1 Venom, 5 Fire Dragons, Squad of Rangers, Shroud Runners, Sky Runners, Warp Spiders, Wraith Lord, Incubi, Reavers. Oh, so he had a lot of stuff.
He had a lot of bikes and a lot of stuff. 3 Wraith Lords too. Very, very.
Yeah.
Wraith Lords are pretty good, and he had 3 of them.
Yep. So this was first week. So this was Scorched Earth and Tipping Point.
Yeah. Scorched Earth. Yep.
All right, cool. So tell us a little bit about this game.
All right. So generally, when you play Eldar, Ynnari is no exception. You just kind of there's some games when you have to play cagey, a little cagey, but for the most part, this attachment's very aggressive. And for this detachment, Ben, stop that. Sorry, my son's making noise. For this detachment, you want to run. Give me 1 sec, Matt. For this attachment, you want to play very, very aggressive into Eldar. And I mean very aggressive. They're not going to be able to... Basically, they're not going to be able to use their maneuverabilities to their advantage because they're going to have to engage you. You're going to have to push out. You're going to have to deploy on the line and just play a real game of 40K. You're going to have to push everything out on the board, all the transports, all your units, except for your Dread Knights. You're going to follow up with the Dread Knights. And you're going to have to just say, hey, all of my stuff is holding in the middle field objectives. So you could, if you play your shooting high game, which is what they normally like to do, you're going to run away with all the points. So they're going to come out and they're going to engage you. And it's just going to be you're going to lose units, and they're going to lose units, and it's going to be a dogfight. But you should win that dogfight. Your units go down faster than their units do, and your units all of the shooting and all of the weapons, close combat weapons, are very good into their units.
You mean their units go down faster than yours do?
Their units will go down faster than yours, and you want to be on those objectives and force them to come and fight you. And target priority, you should kill the Fire Dragons first and the Dark Reapers second. The Dark Reapers he didn't have any in that list. But if you ever see Fire Dragons come out and hit you and you have a chance to go for them, you should go for them because a lot of their other stuff is not really that scary to you. It's mostly the Fire Dragons, the Dark Reapers, and the Wraith Lords. You're not too worried about getting shot by a bunch of War Spider shots. I mean, you're going to take damage, you're going to lose units, but you're not going to lose units as quickly as if Fire Dragons and Dark Reapers shoot you. Okay? So he pushed up. This was actually a crazy game because usually when I play Eldar, they try to minimize their losses and they try to hit me and push me off objectives while still trying to protect themselves. he played extremely aggressive to me. I played my cards, and I played very aggressive into him. And he responded. He went first. He responded with going. He pushed up initially with his scout bikes, the ranger bikes, and then he pushed up, and he was fighting me very hard, and it was a very close game points wise, up until the fourth and fifth turn, and he basically, just like I said, like in all the other Eldar games, he pretty much. So he pretty much got almost. He lost a lot of units, and he almost got tabled turn 4, and turn 5 he was about to be tabled. So like it was a very close game. I was actually kind of worried because he was keeping up with the points the entire time. He was a very good player. His name's Adam. He's a very good guy. But like I said before, like over the course of the 3 to 4 turns, he just lost so much stuff playing aggressive into me, trying to push me back. That over time, I took a lot of losses, but then he just took he had like devastating amounts of losses, and I just was able to win in the end by just holding out, fighting him until he ran out of units.
Yeah, that seems to be the best way to beat the Eldars. Try to force them into a trade game because they do not want to play that.
Yeah, but you have to play aggressive in the Eldar. If you try to outmaneuver Eldar and try to play the angles against Eldar, they just play that game better. So they can't, especially Inari, they're not going to be able to use their move at the end of your shooting to jump on an objective with a unit and score if you already have like OC10 on it anyways. They're not going to be able to just run out there and hit points because you're already there. Like, and then you just charge them. If that makes any sense?
Yep. All right, cool. And then round 2, you played into Ultramarines. Oh, the Librarius Conclave. I remember this.
Yeah.
So he had Tigurius, Librarian with Prescience, Librarian with Fusillade, Terminator Librarian with Celerity, Calgar, Ventress, 1 Impulsor, 1 squad of Blade Guard, Company Heroes, 1 Infernus Squad, 1 Infiltrator Squad ATV, Reaver Squad Repulsor, 10-man Stern Guard, and a 5-man Terminator Squad.
Yeah.
Assault Terminators. All right, so he's got Librarians giving a lot of his stuff 4-ups against Psychic. So that's really decently hard counter into you.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of games where you can play and you can see the math of how something's going to work out to guarantee a unit getting killed and play accordingly, where you can say, okay, I can dedicate this much firepower to shoot something and this many units to kill something, and then I then dedicate more units somewhere else. It kind of like play the board that way, where you're precisely striking what you need to strike. This is not one of those games. He just needs a little bit of luck, and he will save everything because of the 4 librarians give a 4+ feel no pain.
Yeah, and I believe this was Burden of Trust on Search and Destroy.
Yep. I think he knew about the feel no pain. He played very aggressive.
Yep.
I kind of dedicated my whole army a couple turns to kill a couple of the librarians, and I mean my whole army. It would take everything I have to get through the 3+ armor and the 4+ feel no pain, especially those bricks. He did have one turn where he brought the flamer squad out in the beginning, and it didn't roll that well on a number of shots, so it didn't kill as well as he thought, which really kind of saved me, because the Librarius, one thing it doesn't have is it doesn't have fall back and shoot. So especially with the shooting style that he had, I was trying to hit him in combat as much as I could. So I was actually using, at one point he was in my backfield with the Stern Guard squad. He dropped in on my backfield, which I let him have because I was bringing everything out to commit entire armies to one unit at a time. And also playing the mission completely. Like, if he's got something somewhere, you need to. He went first, so I was trying to prevent him from getting those points, put models on the unit, and dedicate my whole army to kill that unit, and then I'd move on. He doesn't have like a lot of stuff, where like I feel like I have more stuff. He doesn't have like tons and tons of stuff, but he has a lot. He has a lot of stuff to like hold the board. But he basically has these. He has 4 really good units with the librarians, and what I ended up doing was when the Sturd Guard came on, I was charging him with my rhinos and razorbacks, just kind of tying him down.
Yep.
For one turn, they had to put Dread Knight. The first turn, I had to put the Dread Knight in, but then I kind of just kept charging rhinos and razorbacks in because they would get stuck in combat. They would fall back, and then I just keep charging them, or they would stay and they'd try to fight me. And basically, I tried to stall out the Stern Guard unit with that, with those rhinos and razorbacks. I get to charging them in so that he wouldn't be able to shoot them, and then I would try to pick off one unit at a time on the board and hold the objectives. So you just that's just one of those games that you very unlucky that you still got 4 librarians. But I mean, if you play the mission and you stay calm and you keep them tied down on their major damage, and you keep pushing yourself into good situations on the points. You keep making sure you're outscoring him. He's not getting his primary. You'll be in a good position. And I was able to pull that game out 73-65.
Yep, 73. Yes, that was a really tight game.
It was a really tough game. If he was anything else, it would have been a lot easier. But because he's Librarius, with 4 librarians, giving him 4+ Feel No Pain versus all my, pure fire flame shots, sight cannon shots, Gatling silencer shots, all my close combat, basically, it becomes very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you and Thousand Sons are one of the 2 armies that's really, really good into. A lot of armies really don't care about the 4 up against Psychic.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Honestly, that should be a match where you'll probably lose unless you are hitting your points that you need every turn.
Yep.
It's not impossible. You could do it. I remember there was also a Black Templar game I played a while ago where he actually had the anti-psychic relics and stuff.
Yep.
But I just I won that one too because as long as you play it smart and you keep hitting your points, and when you do go for one of those Feel No Pain units, you overcommit to take it out when you need to, you'll be fine. You can't just shoot it haphazardly. You have to fully commit to those units.
Yep. All right, and then round 3, you played into Imperial Knights. You played into John Milkman Anderson, who is a friend of both of ours. He's actually was my one loss day 1 in round 2 right before this.
Yeah.
So he was running Canis Rex, a Cerastus Knight Astropos, 3 Helvrins, and 4 Warglaves, as well as a Calidus Assassin and a Navigator. I'm trying to remember what mission was. This was Crucible of Battle, and was it Lynchpin?
It wasn't Lynchpin.
Lynchpin was day 2. This was Terraform.
Terraform, yeah.
It was Crucible Battle and Terraform. And Knights are doing really, really well right now. Knights are one of the armies that's really having a good time right now in the meta.
Yeah, so I think I looked the week before they did really good. And last week they had a 63% win rate, I believe, on the last week's events. So they're if you want to win an event, you're gonna have to fight Knights. I've realized after this tournament, Knights are in a really good spot, especially against Eldar. Before, I feel like when you fought Knights, they were usually in the middle of the pack because there's other armies that could just kind of beat them. So you didn't see them there was always some gatekeeper list that kept them down.
Yep.
But now with the addition of Eldar, and Eldar are killing a lot of lists that usually kind of gatekeep them down. Knights, when they hit Eldar, they kind of just win because they can outscore them, they can overwhelm them. Just kind of like what I'm doing, I overwhelm them with units and threat. So Knights are doing very good right now. John, I actually got first turn, which is really good for me against John. It was a tough game. He's running those 2 big Knights. And when you fight knights, you kind of have to go for number one. You have to go for the warglaze because they're melted. You don't want those melter shots dropping your dread knights. And then number two, you're gonna want to go for the armigers and the big knights, but you need to kind of just situationally go for that. Usually they lead with the warglaives, so it's kind of hard to get to them, but it's just also a hard game because they're OC8. You got to pick your battles and take them. Luckily, I got first turn. I walked up, I terraformed with 2 units, and he was only able to pull off push back 1 terraform because I pushed my entire army up into him. He had a couple knights in position that I could take some shots on him if I played it very aggressively. So I went ahead and did that. I moved up. I fired every single hunter killer I had and every single last cannon I had. My infantry, my interceptors ran up and they shot him and got back in the transports too with 4 roll to hits and wounds. I was able to take out one little knight, and then when he went, I had another little knight on 3 wounds. I was able to take that knight down. I think the deployment kind of favored me because there was an angled deployment, so there was more units there's more edge of line of sight for me versus like one of the more square deployments where people kind of hide more against those. Because when you have the angle deployment, you've got units that are kind of deeper into the board than you used to. And basically, I got out ahead by playing so aggressive for the first 3 turns. Killed all of his little knights, I think by turn 4. And I took 2 turns into the big knights. I took 2 big attacks into the big knights, and they failed. So I lost a lot of stuff when I did go for the Atrapos. I went for the Atrapos because it was in position. It was in a good position. So then I was able to kill just all the little knights, but then he and all of his little character assassin and whatnot. But I wasn't able to kill the big knights. But at that point, I was so far ahead in points. I had all my infantry on the board. The last 2 turns, I just spent hiding and running around, holding objectives, doing actions, redrawing my secondary cards to make sure I kept getting points. And John's a good friend of mine. He wasn't able to catch back up because I just scored so many points by that point. But definitely a hard game.
Yes.
I'll talk about this in the end, but I'm probably going to adjust my list to deal with knights, realizing how good they are now. Because now you'll see them in the top ranks.
Yep.
For the time being, you'll see them in those top rankings. So if you're on a track to win the tournament or get placed high in the tournament, you're in the top 10, you're probably going to have to fight some knights.
Yep. Speaking of which, you ended day 1 3-0. Your round 3 was knights, and then right into your round 4, which is knights.
Knights. Yep. So round 4.
Yeah, this was into Dustin Hammond. He once again had Rex, which was his only character. 1, 2, 3, 4 Helverins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Warglaves. So 10 little knights.
10 little knights, yeah.
Calidus and Cluckus. I think, because I fought against the 13 little knight Chaos Knights, I think more little knights right now is the way to go.
I think 10 little knights is the way to go. I do like his one Canis. Canis is really good.
Yeah, for Imperial. For Chaos, I think you just go all little knights. But for Imperial, throwing in Canis is nice, yes.
Yeah. It was... he got first turn. Another thing with knights, you can't let them kill your warlord. If you let them kill your warlord early, the game's kind of over because then they get 5+ feel no pain and 3 command points. Yep. So I keep my warlord usually in reserve for a while, so it kind of solves that problem. But if you got Drago, then that's a real problem for you. You're going to need to be very careful about how you strike him because Drago has to be a warlord.
Yep, and this was linchpin on tipping point, or was this? This was
Oh yeah, I think it was tipping point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't have as many angles right away. but so when I deployed compared to the other map, because I didn't have those like diagonal deployment where I could hide like up in the corner and like go shoot out and put some shots off. He got first turn, which I talked about it with you. I think going first against Knights is pretty important. But he
Absolutely.
got first turn, and he pulled up his little Knights out, and they were scoring a lot because it's hard to take them off OC8. Holding an objective with OC8 with the little Knights. And I pushed up against him, and my first couple turns, the dice didn't go that great, but they did okay. And I think one of my big mistakes was, so early on I heroicked my 10-man squad. Turn 2, his turn 2, I heroicked my 10-man squad. He made a charge with a Warglaive. I heroicked my 10-man squad into the Warglaive, and I fought it. And with reroll the wounds and reroll the hits, because I paid the command point, I killed it. So it cost me 2 CP, and it got me in better position and killed a little knight. And I was looking at the board, and I made a mistake. I saw 2. It's linchpin, so if you take away the home field objective, it makes the game a lot easier. And there was 2 Helverins sitting on his backfield. And Dustin won the event. You know, he's a great guy. He's a really good player. He's a great guy. He knows his Knights. The 2 Helverins, I went for him. I deep struck the 10-man. I raised it 9-man. It was 9-point man at that point because one of my transfers exploded. I raised him up in the air with the other Purifier squad. I dropped on his backfield to try to say, okay, I can pick up these 2 Helverins and just take his linchpin away. Take his backfield and secure linchpin away from him. And I did that. But I did that turn 2, and I hit the charge. But I was in combat with those little knights until turn 5. I killed them finally on turn 5, but with OC 16, with 2 little knights in the back, and losing one of my, a couple of my key units, basically being taken out of the game.
That's
basically
your auto re-rolls all in his backfield now.
Yeah, I was as the purifiers are there to really hit those big units and take them down. And I thought I was going to be able to take him down, but I didn't roll it. And then what's that?
Well, statistically, how long should it take you to kill them if everything goes average?
So if everything goes well, probably just like 1 or 2 turns, I think. But
if it had worked the way it should work most of the time, do you think that was the right play?
Looking back, I ignored my normal strategy of going for the Warglaives first. Normally, when I fight knights, I go for the Warglaives right away. Unless he's got a Lancer. Unless there's a Lancer that's right up in your face, I usually go kill those Warglaives first. Because you don't really mind the AP. As long as you got cover up, you don't mind the AP1 Armature Helverins that much. You've got 2+ armor. If you're in cover, you got a 2+. If they do their extra AP stratagem, which they do a lot, now you have a 3+. A 3+ is pretty good against Helverin shots.
And if it wasn't linchpin, would you have made that play?
Would not have made that play. I kind of overthought the process there and the strategy there. And I said, it's linchpin. I'm going to go for that backfield. And it didn't work. And then obviously I'm putting a lot of firepower into Helverins, which is not what you want to do. No. And the Warglaives were wreaking havoc on me in my backfield. My Dread Knights, they did their best, but I know my Grandmaster was able to get into Canis for a turn with 4-year-old hit wounds and damage, and he didn't drop them, which is a problem because he needs to be able to. You need to be able to wound Canis a little bit and then go into them and finish them up. Because getting extra turns out of Canis when you commit to him is not a good thing.
Nope.
And his Warglaives were just really like a problem. They were out of seeing my natural expansion because I just had my little 5-man squads and my transports there. So it's like OC7, and he was walking on them with Warglaives at OC8.
Yep.
So it became a big problem.
So if you had stuck to your, so I see you only lost by 4 points. So if you stuck to your normal game plan and didn't change it for linchpin, you think you probably win that game?
I don't know. If I stick to my normal gameplay, I think 10 little knights is a lot for me to deal with.
Yep.
I think I can win that. I'm pretty sure I could. I know I can win that game, but it's real dicey. Obviously, if he makes his saves, when you commit to going into knights, if they make their 5+ symbols and shooting, and you don't kill them in combat, then all of a sudden those little knights become real big problems for you, especially with their meltas on your dread knights, their thermal spear or their warglaive shots. This is the main reason you go for the warglaives is because you want to pick up their melta because they're so good into your dread knights. I think if I stuck with my normal play, which I probably should have just instead of going for his backfield, just left the purifiers. The purifiers were right in front of warglaives and stuff. I should have just sat there for the turn and not jumped him, and then just walked straight into him and picked up. I could have got two warglaives for the price of the one purifier squad, and then he would have had to commit a lot to kill my purifiers.
Yep.
Also, going second doesn't help.
No,
I
find the Knights going first is big.
Yeah, because even though you think it's good for you because they're gonna come up and then you're gonna get a turn into them. They're gonna get a turn into them, and then they're gonna get you basically get 2 turns into them if you hide.
Yeah.
And they only get their 1 turn. Because they'll move up and score points.
Yep.
And then you'll hit them, and then they'll hit you 1 time, and then you'll hit them again. It's not great because they're getting OC 8 on all those objectives, OC 16, and you're trying to pull OC 8 and 16 off objectives, and you're while also trying to kill them, and it becomes a bad situation.
Yeah, because as soon as you pop out and do less than you thought, either because you rolled bad or they rolled good on saves and feel no pains, and it can snowball real quick against knights.
Yep, and it's happened before. I'm sure everybody's had those games where they go into knights and once you've lost your anti-knight stuff, there's not much you can do, and the knights just start cleaning you up. So I did kill every single unit he had except for I think it was one Armiger Helverin, but by turn 5 I killed everything he had except for 1 Helverin. But it didn't matter. The first 3 turns, he scored so many points into me that the last 2 turns, even though I was scoring all the points I could not catch up. He basically dominated the first 3 turns with the warglaives on the middle objectives and prevented me from scoring them. So it's definitely a problem that I need to. I think I'm going to address in my list a little bit, and I think I might add the 5th Dread Knight, but I'll talk about that in a little bit.
So that was Dustin Handon. He did end up winning the whole event. So you lost by 4 points to the guy who won the event. That's really not.
Yeah.
That, I mean, obviously sucks you're trying to win the event, but that's not like anything to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
Then last round, you played in a Necrons Awakened Dynasty. So we got a Command Barge, Cetan, 2 Hexmark Destroyers, Illuminor Xeris, Orkin the Diviner, an Overlord with Translocation Shroud, and a Nether Realm Casket, 20 Warriors, Ghost Ark, Reanimator, Swarm of Scarabs, Crypto Thralls, 2 Doomsday Arcs, Flayed Ones, and Tomb Blades. So pretty standard Necron list.
Yeah.
For Awakened Dynasty. For Awakened Dynasty, yeah. Yeah, no, we see a lot of Hypercrypt in Star Shatter, but Awakened, I think, is still a pretty solid detachment.
Awakened is very good. He was at that point he was 3 wins and a tie, and I was
Daniel's a pretty good player.
He was very good. He's a very good player, very nice guy, very good player. He knew his army very well. I think he understood how my army worked. We were kind of he was playing for the Golden. What's that?
Yeah. And this was take and hold with hidden supply, so it was 6 objectives, and it was on search and destroy. Which I find that 6 objective. Now there's not one in the middle, and you both kind of 3 of them on your side. Really, really changes the way you play most games.
Yes, it really does. The hidden supplies is amazing for Grey Knights because it gives you that if you just hold those two in the middle, you're holding half, and you can do a 6-inch deep strike most turns. It's actually a pretty good advantage to go on a hidden supply map. So into that game, the feel no pains on some of those characters are tricky. He got first turn. He kind of his army kind of relies on the warriors just kind of spreading out on the objectives, and he keeps reanimating them. They keeps bringing them back.
Yep.
And you can't, even with the amount of firepower I have, you can't really take them down very well. And I have a lot of weight of fire.
Yes.
With their 4+ symbol, they have reanimation, multiple reanimations. Every time they reanimate 2d3 with the reanimator in the back. Orc into the Diviner gives them a 4+ symbol. They're -1 to hit with the enhancement. It's a very hard unit to crack. Basically, when you fight an army with like a Death Star unit like that, you got to start picking up everything else.
Yep.
I did put like few shots into them early on, like leftover shots that I couldn't shoot anything else with once I picked up my targets. And he literally, every time I put some shots into them, he healed it back all the way to full.
Yep.
I think I shot him like 4 times, and he would heal them back to full the first 3 turns every time. So it's kind of a waste of a shots. Plus, I think they're called crypto thralls. The crypto thralls are better saves, and he can bring those back with the warriors too.
Yep.
So I prioritized all the little units. I shunted. I moved real fast on the angles, and I was able to pick up, the little things. The little swarm unit, and then I was able to shoot and take down the 2 Doomsday Arcs. Basically prioritizing everything that's small, everything all over the board, and then over time, he lost pretty much everything except for that big Death Star unit. And that Death Star unit, it's okay, Ben. Come here. My son's upset. I'll pick him up. I don't know. I'm gonna pick him up. Oh, hey, buddy. You okay? So then, I was able to stay in the game by picking up the Doomsday Arcs. Now, he did not have a spider. He thought about taking the spider, but it's the game is that if you hit the psychic army, if you don't hit a psychic army, the little spider gives you feel no pain versus psychic attacks. If you don't hit a feel no pain army, if you don't hit a psychic army, the spider's a waste. So he chose not to take the spider. So it's a little bit easier for Grey Knights to fight something like that without the little canoptic spider that gives a 4+ feel no pain bubble. But mainly I just played aggressively with my transports. Eventually played aggressively with my Dread Knights after I took out his 2 Doomsday Arcs with Dread Knight drops and las cannon shots. And then I would just basically take the transports and stuff and shove them on the objectives and keep trying to push him back, that big blob unit, because he was spreading that unit over 3 objectives, and just trying to push it back as much as I could.
Yep.
And eventually, that's basically all he had left was that and the character in the back, the character vehicle in the back, and I was able to win by points. But that's a very hard unit to kill. Luckily, I was able to get my Grandmaster on. That's one thing you need to do. If you ever hit a Grandmaster on like a buff character, if you can get to the buff character, you need to pay the 1 command point to precision him out. And I was able to do that. I did it twice because he brought him back to life, and I went to him again and precisioned him out. So I was able to kill Orc into the Diviner and take away the 4+ symbol. So by the end, I was able to deal with the big wraith, the big blob. But basically, once again, you just play aggressive. You pick up everything that's around the Death Star. you don't really worry about the Death Star because it's going to do what it does.
Yep.
But the Death Star can't do actions and do everything that his army needs to do. So, I mean, it was a great game. It was a great guy, and I was able to pull it out with the win at the end.
All right. So you ended up 4-1. Dustin, your one loss ended up winning the whole tournament. John Lennon got second.
Yeah.
And then you ended up third, which there was 2 golden tickets up for grab. And since Lennon already had one, it got passed on down to you. So congrats on the golden ticket, David.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm now, I think it's 16-1 with Warpbane in tournaments.
And your
so
one loss was by 4 points into an Imperial Knights list that won the GT. So I think your list is still pretty strong. But speaking of which, let's go back to your list. You're thinking about making some changes.
Yeah, I'm thinking about taking the Interceptor squad and the one of the Razorbacks and trying out another Grandmaster. In the past, I've been against 2 Grandmaster Dread Knights, but they do give you extra help against 10 Helverins.
Yeah, because it looks like one Interceptor and a Razorback is exactly 210 points.
210 points. So I really like how everything else performed, and I really do like 2 Interceptor squads. But with the way the meta is right this second, I'm going to play test dropping those 2 units for the one Grandmaster to give me that extra help against the Knight list.
Yeah, because it's not worth running 2 5s of Purifiers and keeping the 2 Inceptors.
No, I love the 10-man Purifier brick is such a good unit to go in and kill a toughness 11 or toughness 10 thing.
Yeah.
Even when that unit goes down to 4 models and it gets +1 to wound as well, that's still 12 attacks with +1 to hit, +1 to wound before we roll the hits. 1 command point, 4 roll the wounds. Yeah. So I love that unit. That unit's not going away. I love the Interceptors. I love the 2 Interceptor squads. They give me a lot of maneuverability, a lot of gameplay, a lot of options every turn. They're very annoying for opponents to play against. They're kind of like the old Swooping Hawks with jumping in and out off the board, except for these are jumping in and off objectives. But because of the Knights, they're kind of a problem right now. If you wanted to win an event, you're probably going to have to play some Knights at the moment, I think. I'm going to play test out the second Grandmaster, yeah. And I'll probably deep strike that. I'll deep strike both the Grandmasters unless they're playing a scout aggressive army. And I'll probably turn to drop the one Grandmaster in and shoot with them, and turn to rapid ingress like I normally do the Warlord Grandmaster and go into combat with them. So they're going to be on the board right away, but they're just going to give me a little bit more help versus a heavy vehicle saturated list like that.
All right, cool. Yeah, I don't think that's should really affect the efficiency of the army too much. I mean, you're kind of trading 2 pieces for 1, but Grandmasters are super hard to kill, and they're decent shooting and combat. So I'm interested to see how that does for you. There's a couple little stuff coming up locally, but I believe you and I are looking at going to GT in the middle of April.
Yeah, I've got there's a team event I'm going to at the end of April. I know you're going to be out of the country. So I think getting some games in mid-April at that team event will help me. So you and I will probably go to that one.
The GT, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also probably going to the next event. I'm probably go to. I've got some stuff this next couple weekends. There's not a lot of events the next couple weekends either, I don't think. But
I got events the next 4 weekends in a row, but the next 2 are. So we got one in Oldsmar at that place, Spray Gunner. And then the weekend after that, the last weekend, I'm going out to Lakeland to play in the tournament Will's running.
Oh, okay, cool.
Then we're back to the next 2 weekends will be the 2 Lewis is running, but we might skip the second.
I'm going to go to that one with Lewis. I'll be going to that one.
Cool.
The April 5th one. So more tournaments coming up, and I'm going to try to put out some more videos on matchups. I think.
Yeah.
Especially, I think this is a good leeway into talking about matchups. I kind of gave my thought process on those 4 armies.
Yes.
So I think people might like hearing more about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But thanks so much for having me, Matt, again, and put up with more content.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for coming, Dave. I'm sure everybody's going to be real happy to have some more Grey Knight content on the channel. But with that, like, share, subscribe, all that cool YouTube stuff, and we will catch you guys next time.
Yep.